2020 have been very challenging for everybody. And that's why we have listed down the natural disasters of 2020. Number 1. Bushfires. Australia is a sovereign country comprising the mainland of the Australian continent, the island of Tasmania, and numerous smaller islands. It is the largest country in Oceania and the world's sixth largest country by total area. Signs of bushfires in Australia officially started to show in October of 2019 due to prolonged droughts around the country. Over the next few months, the bushfires spread fast and wide, showing no signs of stopping. With time, a state of emergency was declared in Queensland and New South Wales in November, and slowly all the other states followed as the fires continued to spread. Also known as Black Summer, the Australian bushfires were deemed as one of the biggest natural disasters. The extent of damage ranged from an estimated 18 million hectares burned, over 9,000 buildings and homes destroyed, and 400 deaths directly or indirectly. Number 2. Flash floods. India. Heavy rains in the past few months have been seen as a boon and bane around different parts of India. Many parts of Assam have also experienced these heavy rains and as a result, have been negatively affected in the form of floods. 128 villages, 5 districts and so many more have been caused harm. Sudan. In September 2020, profuse and continuous rainfall in Sudan caused a devastating flood across 17 out of the 18 Sudanese states, with the Blue Nile reaching water levels not seen for nearly a century. It ranks among the most severe floods recorded in the region. A state of emergency was declared, and teams have worked to prevent damage to threatened archaeological sites. The flood affected more than 3 million people, destroyed more than 100,000 homes, and left more than 100 people dead. South Korea. Since June 2020, floods have severely impacted large areas of both North and South Korea due to heavy rains of the regional rainy season, primarily in the far southern parts of the Korean peninsula. These floods are closely related to ones across China and in Kyushu, Japan. As of the 9th of August 2020, 30 people have died in South Korea and 9,491 houses were damaged. 9,317 hectares of farmland were submerged, as a result. Indonesia. Flash floods occurred throughout the Indonesian capital of Jakarta and its metropolitan area on the early hours of January 1, 2020. Due to the overnight rain which dumped nearly 400 millimeters of rainwater, causing the Siliwang and Cisadane rivers to overflow. At least 66 people have been killed, and 60,000 displaced in the worst flooding in the area since 2007. Number 3. COVID-19, or coronavirus. In December 2019, the first coronavirus case was identified in Wuhan, China. Because it was not considered deadly at the moment, no one could imagine the kind of impact this virus would have globally. China recorded the first death on the 11th of January 2020, and subsequently 2 months later, WHO declared the virus to be a worldwide pandemic on the 11th of March. As the 2nd of April came around, the world number of cases surpassed 1 million. Now slowly, people are venturing out while taking precautions and trying to sense the new normal. Good news that Britain's National Health Service delivered its first shots of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine on Tuesday, opening a mass vaccination campaign with little precedent in modern medicine and making Britons the first people in the world to receive a clinically authorized, fully tested vaccine. At 6:31 December 8, 2020, Tuesday, Margaret Keenan, 90, a former jewelry shop assistant, rolled up the sleeve of her Merry Christmas t-shirt to receive the first shot, and her image quickly became an emblem of the remarkable race to produce a vaccine and the global effort to end a pandemic that has killed 1.5 million people worldwide. I feel so privileged to be the first person vaccinated against COVID-19, said Ms. Keenan, who lives in Coventry, in central England. Number 4. Volcanic eruptions. Taal volcanic eruption. The eruption of Tal Volcano in Batangas, Philippines on January 12, 2020, was a phreatomagmatic eruption from its main crater that spewed ashes across Calabarzon, Metro Manila, and some parts of central Luzon and Ilocos region, resulting in the suspension of school classes, work schedules, and flights in the area. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, PhilVolcs, subsequently issued an alert level 4, indicating that a hazardous explosive eruption is possible within hours to days. Mount Sinabung eruption. The Mount Sinabung volcano in Indonesia erupted on August 10, 2020 in the morning, spouting ash at least 5,000 meters high into the sky. No casualty or injuries have been reported so far, according to news agency Associated Press. The ash destroyed several nearby plantations, according to media reports. Meanwhile, the villagers have been advised to stay 5 kilometers from the crater's mouth, according to the agency. Number 5. Earthquakes. Puerto Rico. San Juan, Puerto Rico, a 5.4 magnitude earthquake hit near southern Puerto Rico of May 2020. The earthquake briefly knocking out power and jolting many from their beds on an island where some people still remain in shelters from previous quakes earlier this year. There were no immediate reports of casualties. The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake hit at a shallow depth of 5.6 miles near the city of Ponce and the towns of Guanica and Guayanilla, where hundreds of homes were destroyed by a quake in early January that killed one person and caused millions of dollars in damage. Turkey and Greece earthquake. A magnitude 7 earthquake struck on Friday the 30th of October 2020, about 14 kilometers, 8.7 miles, northeast of the Greek island of Samos. Many buildings were damaged or collapsed as a result of the earthquake, with the church the Assumption of Mary in Karlovasi, Greece, partially collapsing, while in the Turkish city Izmir, which was heavily affected by the earthquake, dozens of buildings were either damaged or completely collapsed. Emergency services in both countries immediately attended the scene, as rescue efforts continued into the night. This earthquake is the deadliest of 2020 so far. 116 people are known to have died in Turkey, with 1,034 more injured. In Greece, there were an additional 2 fatalities and 19 minor injuries. Number 6. Swarms of locusts. Desert locusts are migratory pests that can eat as much food as around the amount 35,000 people can eat. They feed on crops and have the power to destroy crops within seconds. Moreover, they breed rapidly and almost 150 million of these pests can exist in a 1 square kilometer area. They do not harm human beings. Being called one of the worst pest attacks in almost 26 years, it is being said that the sudden increase of these locusts has occurred due to a change in the climate. The increase in temperature has made it possible for breeding to happen while also making it habitable. In India, videos of the locusts swarming have been circulated and they can make a person uncomfortable. The states of Gujarat, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh have seen the effects of these pest attacks. Number 7. Cyclone. Cyclone is a large-scale air mass that rotates around a strong center of low atmospheric pressure. Cyclones are characterized by inward spiraling winds that rotate about a zone of low pressure. The largest low-pressure systems are polar vortices and extratropical cyclones of the largest scale. Cyclone Amphan is classified as one of the most powerful, deadly tropical cyclones to ever impact Bangladesh and India. It was categorized as a Category 5 hurricane and the havoc it wreaked was devastating. It caused landfalls, heavy rains, gust windows, and lightning that left behind destruction in its wake while killing 12 people. Number 8. Forest fires. Uttarakhand, a state in northern India crossed by the Himalayas, is known for its Hindu pilgrimage sites. Rishikesh, a major center for yoga study, was made famous by the Beatles' 1968 visit. The city hosts the evening Ganga Aarti, a spiritual gathering on the sacred Ganges River. The state's forested Jim Corbett National Park shelters Bengal tigers and other native wildlife. In May, a forest fire that lasted for days caused Eruption to burn. What may have started as a small fire has managed to engulf 51 hectares of forest land, further resulting in a loss of more than 1 lakh for the forest department, 2 deaths and several others have been injured. Number 9. Green snow. When thinking about Antarctica, one can imagine everything white, from glaciers to snow, penguins, seals, and more. However, it has been noticed that parts of Antarctica are turning green due to climate change and the bloom of snow algae. Snow algae tend to thrive on temperatures that are above the freezing temperature, and as the climate is causing the snow to melt, it has accelerated the speed at which the snow algae grows. If someone were to look at the continent from space, they would see some of the green parts. Number 10. Super Typhoon. Typhoon Goni, known in the Philippines as Super Typhoon Rolly, was an extremely powerful tropical cyclone that made landfall as a Category 5 equivalent super typhoon on Catanduanes in the Philippines and became the strongest landfalling tropical cyclone on record by 1-minute winds, eclipsing the previous record held by Haiyan and Morandi. The 19th named storm, 9th typhoon, and 2nd super typhoon of the 2020 Pacific typhoon season, Goni originated as a tropical depression south of Guam on October 26. It was then named as Tropical Storm Goni on October 27. On the next day, Goni explosively intensified over the Philippine Sea, becoming a Category 5 equivalent super typhoon on October 30. Goni maintained Category 5 strength for over a day, before making landfall on Catanduanes at peak intensity, with 10-minute sustained winds of 220 km per hour, 140 miles per hour, and 1-minute sustained winds of 315 km per hour, 195 miles per hour, with a minimum central pressure of 905 hectopascals, m-bar, 26.72 in Hg. It was the strongest tropical cyclone observed worldwide thus far in 2020 and one of the most intense tropical cyclones on record. Following its first landfall, Goni rapidly weakened while it moved over the Philippines. The storm brought severe flash flooding to Legazpi, as well as lahar flow from the nearby Mayan volcano. There were widespread power outages as well as damaged power and transmission lines in Bicol. Crops were also heavily damaged. Over 390,000 out of 1 million evacuated individuals have been displaced in the region. Due to the extreme wind speed of the typhoon, 2 evacuation shelters had their roofing lost. Debris and lahars had also blocked various roads, as well as rendering the Basad Bridge impassable. In Vietnam, where Goni made landfall as a tropical depression, there was flooding in numerous areas, as well as eroded and damaged roads. This exacerbated the 2020 Central Vietnam floods, causing an estimated 543 billion dongs, $23.5 million. In all, the typhoon killed at least 32 people and caused at least 20 billion pesos, $415 million worth of damage. And that is where the list of natural disasters ends this year 2020. I hope we are still healthy and happy, because despite all this we should still smile, because we still have many reasons to be happy. And we should still thank God, and may the condition of our world continue to improve. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.